In Trinidad and Tobago, we seem not to understand the role of the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Could you explain what is the role of the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago?
There are two kinds of presidents. You have an executive president. That is a president who is head of state and head of government. And the most common example would be the President of the United States. So that is a president that is all powerful and can make, let me say, almost all of the important decisions about how the country is run. Then you have a non-executive president, where you have a head of state and a separate head of government. And that is the kind of presidency we have in Trinidad and Tobago. And the best known model, even though it's not identical, will be the monarch of the United Kingdom, who is not the head of government. That's why you have a prime minister, like in Trinidad and Tobago, and then you have a separate, in their case, it was Queen Elizabeth, now it's King Charles, and in our case, we have the presidents that we have had over time. The two forms operate very, very differently. But generally, if you say to someone president, what they think of, because of how we have been acculturated, is something similar to the President of the United States. And so they don't understand that the President of Trinidad and Tobago has very limited powers and authority. First of all, the president is not, and could I say it again, is not a member of the government. The government is that group of politicians coming from the ruling party that make all of the decisions about how our lives are lived, how our money is spent, how our roads are fixed, who gets water when, who gets light when. Those are political decisions. And that's why you have a minister of this and a minister of that and a minister of the other, on behalf of the government carrying out government policy in respect of these matters. The president has nothing whatsoever to do with those things, nor does the president have any authority in those areas. The president in Trinidad and Tobago is the representation of the nation, of the citizens, and exists in order to have a clear separation between governmental powers and certain agencies that we desire to be independent. So that's where you get your commissions. Now, in our executive presidency, the president, who is head of both government and state, will choose those people. But our system that we have inherited is one in which we want to have a clear and distinct separation. So that, let me just use, for example, the Judicial and Legal Service Commission. So you have a commission. If you were having an executive presidency, the president will choose your judges. In our system, no. The commission chooses the judges and advises the president to appoint them. Now, the president does not have any particular power. The president can't say, well, no, Judicial, Legal and Service Commission, I don't think that X should be appointed a judge. The president is advised, and when the president is advised, as long as the legal requirements are met, the president must act as advised. So you will have questions about how the president could appoint so-and-so a minister, because the president was so advised by the authority to advise the president. The person met the legal requirements. It may have to do with age or qualifications, and therefore the president has to do it. The president gets a little bit of power in certain appointments, in that the president must identify the person that the president wishes to nominate, and then consult with certain bodies about that person. The general and most popular consultation is consult with the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. And whenever the President consults with the Prime Minister, the President also must, by law, consult with the Leader of the Opposition. So a name is sent forward for a particular position, and then both of these parties are invited to let the President know what they think. Now, let me just say this. The President's office is not provided with any kind of investigative apparatus to look into the persons that the President is going to put forward. It does not exist. And therefore, beyond the qualifications of the person, which can be ascertained objectively, then, well, how the President finds out whether or not this person is suited by virtue of character and conduct is by asking third parties, which is not the most effective way. Because you might ask a person who is either very much in favor or very much against the individual. The information you get can be skewed, depending on the source of your information. So the President's office has to tiptoe its way through that information and make the best that it can of it. When you consult, it gives the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition their chance to do their little investigations. So the President now has the benefit of its own investigations. Anything that the Prime Minister or the Leader of the Opposition have to bring to the table to see whether or not this is a suitable candidate. The President, of course, is free not to follow the opinion of either of those consulting parties, but that would be foolhardy. So that if they bring something and they can show you or say why, then it gives you cause for pause, and then you can check up further and come to some decision. There are other consultations, mind you. There are times when the President consults with the Chief Secretary for certain positions. There are some consultations with some labor and business organizations for particular things. But consultation is one process. And the only appointment in which the President has absolute discretion is independent senators and lay assessors of the Equal Opportunity Tribunal. Oh yes, Sentencing Commission. The President doesn't have to consult anybody. They look, they make their decisions, they do whatever investigations they can, and they make appointments. So that if persons understand those limits, and that the President is a creature of statute, the President can only legally do what is written down in the law. The President cannot act outside of the law in terms of legal and constitutional duties.